thinking outside the Longbox, people. This is Doyle. I am in a car, being safe, vaping. I know Gabe says it looks like a dick. I don't give a shit, Gabe. Stop trying to be the man to my vape, son. You got your weed. I got my nicotine products that aren't killing me quite as fast as cigarettes. Deal with it. But I am not here to talk to you about vaping. Unless you're smoking cigarettes, in which case, pick it up. It's way fucking cheaper. You will feel way fucking better. It is just good for you in that sense. Now, again, I don't know how much better for you that it is. I do know that you're not going to get that tar that you get from cigarettes, which you start to feel better within the first couple weeks after you get rid of that smoker sickness that you kind of get when you quit. But it's just worth it. It's a much better way to live. Again, maybe I'll die 30 years from now from it. But let's be honest, probably die from being fat way before that. But that's not what I'm here to talk to you about, people. I'm here to talk to you about Peele, from Key and Peele. I know he has a first name, I think it's Jordan Peele, maybe. I don't know. His reimagining of The Outer Limits. And I don't know if it is his reimagining or if he's just starring in it. I really am unaware. But he is the intro and outro voice, the setup and conclusion, as you will, of the Twilight Zone. If you've ever watched the old show, it's very similarly brought in and exited each episode. Well, there's only 2 episodes so far. But you get that cool narrative voice talking to you and revealing the alternate dimension that our characters find themselves in and the situations that they find themselves in. So in that aspect, it's very nostalgic and very cool, but it's very updated with, well, first of all, big names, and second of all, just more, I don't know, the first 2 stories are very good. We have The Comedian, episode 1, and we have Danger at 30,000 feet or Nightmare at 30,000 feet, something like that, which obviously is a callback to the Nightmare at 20,000 feet from way back in the day, old school Twilight Zone. But both episodes are very in-depth. The Comedian, where I really like the acting, I really like what it's about, the dramatization, if you will, was very fucking obvious to me, from the beginning, what was going on, how it was going to play out, and how it was going to end even was I don't know, it was a little, maybe it was rushed, maybe there's just not enough time to tell that story. I do know that it is still very good. You still get a very cool perspective, and you still get a look inside of, what this guy is willing to give up to be a big shot or be what he's been trying to be this whole time. So I would say it's still worth watching. It's not nearly as good to me as the second episode, which has a really cool tie-in with Dan Carlin from Hardcore History. If you haven't heard his podcast, you should go listen to it. The man has probably the coolest voice in podcasting, and he's been doing it since 2005 or 2006 or some shit like that. A really long time. And if you're into history, you got to really be into history to listen to one of these podcasts. Motherfucker goes deep. But going into the Huns and World War II and shit, it's pretty fucking cool. He does a really good job at being very immersive, and I don't know, I would have paid way more attention if he was my high school history teacher. That's all I'm saying. But it's worth a listen to, and his voice is fucking awesome to hear in this episode of the show. Spoilers. We are spoilerings. Basically, a guy with PTSD, a journalist, is on a plane and finds an MP3 player playing a future podcast discussing the flight that he is currently on and its mysterious disappearance, and how nobody really knows what happened to the flight. And as he continues to listen, the similarities of the flight that he's on continue to compound and continue to distort his reality of the situation at hand. It's a lot of paranoia. There's some PTSD-ness in there. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't know this for sure, there is some Fight Club-esque Tyler Durden shit going on with the main character and this random person that feeds his delusional state. So, as he's listening to this podcast about how his plane is about to fucking crash and die and go down, he ends up, being the cause of that. And I would say that it was a little bit, you could kind of see it coming. It was definitely not as, like, heavy-fisted see it coming as the first episode. I don't know, maybe I just, the first episode just struck me weird and I figured it out right away and it wasn't that in your face. But the first episode seems like I knew what the fuck was going to happen 10 minutes into it. But this one kind of hides itself a little bit better. It's definitely it's a shorter episode, and I would say it's a better episode than the first one. But again, that would be up to you guys. If you have the CBS streaming app, I don't think you can watch it on regular TV. Again, I'm not sure about that, but I'm pretty sure you have to stream it. It is worth watching, as is Star Trek Discovery, which is another thing you get from that app. Also, I said I was going to get into watching Into the Badlands, and I did. I'm in, like, season 2, like 3 episodes into season 2. The show, I would say, is not great, but if you enjoy people getting murdered with swords and heavy kung fu action, it's still fun to watch. I like it for the most part. I would say that, I don't know, it's a good, like, 70. It's a good show. Like, it's not a great show. It's not a show that I would get encapsulated by. It's not binge-worthy to me. I watch an episode here and there, and then I'm done with it. So, for, until I turn the TV back on later on, next day or something. Sabrina Season 2 just started. Very good show. I love that show. All American I tried to get into on Netflix, but it's just not that well acted. I usually like football shows and movies, but I don't know. It's just not that good. But one thing it did make me notice is that they are just exploiting the over-sexualization of teenagers in TV shows today. And maybe I'm a prude or something, but it just doesn't sit right to me. Even in Sabrina, like, I'm a little, like, off-put by the 3 sisters in the first season, and Sabrina getting naked into a bath. All American, they're just full-blown having sex and getting naked in hot tubs and shit. Doesn't show anything, of course. But it's like, these people are supposed to be, Sabrina, I think, is a fucking, like, sophomore in season 1. Like, I just don't get that shit, you know what I'm saying? It just seems wrong to me. I know kids up that age are doing that shit, to a degree, but I don't know why that has to be in the show, or why they have to use that to drive the story. Again, maybe I'm just a prude and it doesn't really matter since they're not actually showing anything, but it just seems it doesn't seem necessary, and it's a little bit off-putting, I would say. I don't need it. I don't need it to my TV. But, yeah, I think that's it. If you enjoyed this episode of In a Car with Doyle, not in the dark, but safe in a parking lot, go ahead and click that like button. You can go ahead and subscribe. But Juan does like 3 or 4 of these a week. Gabe does a couple. I'm trying to do at least 1, maybe 2. I want to get into what I'm reading also, comic book wise. It's very DC focused and X-Men focused. Gabe calls it gay, but I'm still a Superman fan. X-Men, even though the story, the golden age of X-Men is not now, but it is, there's some cool stuff happening in X-Men. Immortal Hulk is a brilliant comic that's out right now, and there are some more indie comics that I'm reading as well, like Sleepless and a few other things that I want to talk to you guys about. But if you like comics, I'll probably try to be posting one of these about comics and then one of these about, like, TV shows or whatever the fuck I want to talk about. Again, you can find us at, I don't know, fucking thinking outside the Longbox in Google will take you places. Patreon, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. One of us will be there to answer your questions. Probably not Tim right now, because I think he just had his testicles removed in a surgery. It's really, I don't know what happened, but they're gone. I don't really know what his surgery was about. All of a sudden, motherfuckers is in the hospital. But I think they took his nuts. Or one of his big toes. They're both weird looking. Thank you again for listening, and I will talk to you guys later. Fuck you, Gabe. It does not look like sucking a dick. Bye-bye.